Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Today, it's time to talk about the best monitors you can buy right now. We last updated you guys on the best monitors at the start of 2018. Well, after a year's worth of testing and plenty of new product launches, it's about time we give our recommendations once again for the best displays out there. We've tailored these picks specifically for the Hardware Unboxed audience. So across most categories, we're focusing on gaming grade displays and products that provide the best bang for your buck. It's quite hard to determine which monitors will give the best value out there, as there are so many competing options and prices can fluctuate a fair bit, but I reckon these are some really solid picks. Our focus is also primarily on the US market, considering the United States is by far our biggest audience on the channel, so we've worked out pricing based on what's available at retailers like Amazon and Newegg. Usually these picks are also good value in other regions like Australia and Europe, but it's worth exploring options locally. If you do happen to find any ripping deals, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Anyway, let's get on with our picks. We're starting here with 1080p displays, which remain the best pick for those on a budget. There are loads of excellent options below $200 these days, everything from your dirt cheap $80 1080p 60Hz displays to a collection of high refresh monitors. Sorting out the good from the bad in this price category is certainly a bit of a challenge. What we settled on here is the Viotech GN24C, which at $199 is one of the best value monitors on the market right now. It's a 24-inch 1080p 144Hz curved VA display, and since we reviewed it a couple of months ago, it's actually come down in price to now compete strongly with TN options offering similar specs. So there's a few reasons we've chosen this particular display. For one, 24 inches is the perfect size for 1080p. 27-inch options are also good value, but at 1080p, pixel density isn't really in your favor. Secondly, 144Hz is the sweet spot for value. Sure, you can save around $50 opting for a 75Hz display instead, but for gaming, the difference between 75 and 144Hz is large enough to justify the price difference, and it gives you room to grow as you upgrade your PC's hardware down the track. The big choice comes between VA and TN panel quality. The AOC G2460PF is a good choice at $180, offering a TN panel with similar specs to the Viotech GN24C, but it's definitely worth spending the extra $20 to get the GN24C's VA panel. You'll get deeper blacks, a much better contrast ratio, better color performance, and superior viewing angles. Response times aren't typically the strongest aspect to a VA panel, but the GN24C is one of the fastest VAs we've tested. The only major downside to budget 1080p displays is factory calibration. The GN24C isn't amazing in this regard, and neither are most other sub $200 monitors. However, it's not bad enough to significantly affect gaming and can be corrected through calibration. It's also worth mentioning the GN24C has FreeSync with low frame rate compensation and an attractive design, making it our go-to choice in this product category. Another tricky category to make a recommendation in is the 1440p category. This year in particular, because there's been a lot of new releases and especially a lot of price reductions for certain types of monitors. In fact, this year is really the first year that high refresh 1440p monitors have become affordable and easy to recommend, with some great options around the $300 mark depending on the size. I'm going to make two recommendations here because I think 1440p is well suited to both the 27-inch and 32-inch sizes, and which size you're after is probably going to be a personal preference thing. So at 27 inches, I'm recommending the new Samsung JG50, and then at 32 inches, the Pixio PX329. Both of these are 1440p high refresh VA monitors, with high refresh VA once again providing the best bang for your buck. The Samsung JG50 can often be found at $300 as a 144Hz curved monitor at 27 inches with FreeSync, while the Pixio PX329 is a steal at just $350 for a 32-inch 165Hz flat monitor, also with FreeSync support. Like with the 1080p category, for gamers these days, it's really not worth getting a 1440p 60Hz monitor. You'll only be saving around $50. Even if you don't have the GPU horsepower to hit high frame rates at 1440p, getting a high refresh monitor now will last you for years and will make it easier to justify GPU upgrades. If you're like most people and won't upgrade your monitor for 5 years, at this point it would just be silly not to go high refresh, especially with prices having dropped several $100s in the last year and 1.5. In our testing, we found the PX329 to be a strong contender across our performance metrics, and right now, having come down in price by nearly $100 in just a few months since we reviewed it, it's the best bang for your buck monitor on the entire market in our opinion. The Samsung JG50 is also a great buy for those after a 27-inch panel with both the Samsung and Pixio options, offering the usual benefits of VA panels like deep blacks, great viewing angles, good contrast ratios, and vibrant colors. Ultra-wide monitors are another category that has seen significant price reductions across 2018 for some of the best options. In fact, right now, it's possible to get a 34-inch 3440 by 1440 21:9 ultra-wide monitor with FreeSync support and a 100Hz refresh rate for less than $500, which is such a great price for those specs. The monitor available at that price is the Viotech GN34C, which comes in a few dollars under $500 US. Offering almost the complete package for a 21:9 display right now. It's got a 1440p class resolution, a fast 100Hz refresh rate, it uses VA technology, so you're getting all the usual VA benefits like great colors and great contrast, and with an 1800R curvature, it's curved nicely for gaming. We've tested the VA panel the GN34C uses in the past and found it to hold up well across our metrics. These days, you can get 120Hz IPS panels at a similar size and resolution, but the price increase for an extra 20Hz simply isn't worth it, and in many respects the VA panel used in the GN34C is better anyway. So really, it's very hard to pass on the screaming value the GN34C offers. One thing I will note is the GN34C is set to be replaced shortly by the newer GN34CX. However, the specifications are almost identical, and the GN34CX will also be available for $500. So really, once again, Viotech is giving buyers some of the best value displays on the market right now. My recommendation in the 4K monitor category is very different to the other three categories we've just covered. The reason for this is I don't think 4K monitors are a great option for gamers right now. Most gamers will be better off with a 1440p high refresh display. The resolution won't be quite as good, but the high refresh rate will make a much bigger impact to your gaming than the slight quality improvement moving to 4K would provide. Yeah, you can get 4K 144Hz monitors these days, but they're simply too expensive for most people. So right now, 4K monitors are better suited to professionals and content creators that don't really require high refresh rates. And the best 4K professional monitor on the market right now is the Dell UltraSharp UP2718Q. This monitor seriously has everything. It's a 27-inch 4K IPS display with true 10-bit color support, not 8-bit plus FRC. It supports 100% coverage of both sRGB and Adobe RGB gamuts, plus 97.7% coverage of DCI-P3, which places it among the best monitors for gamut coverage. And because it's part of Dell's Premier color line, it's factory calibrated to a delta E of less than 2.0, and it supports custom color profiles you can create yourself. But wait, there's more. The UP2718Q is a proper HDR monitor. It supports up to 1000 nits of peak brightness and has a 384 zone FALD backlight for excellent HDR contrast ratios. When you combine that with a wide color gamut and true 10-bit support, it's one of the best HDR monitors on the market right now and allows creators to work not only with accurate sRGB colors, but with accurate HDR as well. Of course, it doesn't come cheap with an MSRP of $2,000 and a current price on Dell's website of around $1,550 US. But good professional monitors don't come cheap, and this is one of the best. I'd also recommend the Asus ProArt PA32UC-K as a 32-inch 4K true HDR monitor for professionals. It's a bit larger than the UP2718Q, but it's also more expensive, selling for about $500 more. If you need the extra size, it could be a good option, but my preference right now would be to save $500 and get the smaller Dell monitor instead. This final category is really only for those that have money to burn or were specifically looking for my recommendation for HDR monitors. Unfortunately, the state of the HDR monitor ecosystem at the moment isn't great. There are lots of monitors that claim to be HDR compatible, but ultimately don't deliver a great HDR experience. This is either because brightness is too low, contrast isn't good enough, or color gamut isn't higher than SDR. There are a surprising number of monitors where all three factors are issues, and even more monitors where at least one of the three factors doesn't reach the required standard for HDR. This makes shopping for an HDR monitor extremely difficult because it's often unclear which will deliver a good HDR experience or which merely have fake HDR. Considering the HDR monitor ecosystem is not nearly as mature as the HDR TV ecosystem, chances are a monitor advertised as supporting HDR will only deliver a fake HDR experience. Even popular monitors like Samsung's CHD70 aren't really up to scratch as far as HDR is concerned. So my advice for most people interested in HDR monitors is don't bother. The risk of fake HDR is too high, and within a year, we're likely to have much better HDR offerings on the market. It's simply too early to jump into the HDR ecosystem, and I'd hate for anyone to buy an expensive HDR monitor only to discover later that they got something with fake HDR. If a monitor says it supports HDR, make sure it's a good SDR monitor at a good price first, and then treat any HDR support as a free bonus. And don't pay extra for HDR either. I've seen plenty of monitors where they offer HDR at an added price, but the HDR mode isn't really any better than SDR. With all that crucial information out of the way, there are some monitors that deliver true HDR. The Dell UP2718Q I mentioned earlier is one, but if you're specifically after HDR for gaming, there is basically only one monitor on the market I'd be comfortable recommending at the moment, and that's the Acer Predator X27. The Predator X27 is a 4K 144Hz panel with true HDR, so it supports up to 1000 nits of brightness, it has a 384 zone FALD backlight, and it has a wide color gamut. It also has G-Sync HDR and comes factory calibrated with excellent performance across most metrics. It's basically the best gaming monitor on the market, but it's also not cheap at $1,700 through Amazon. The only time I'd recommend the Predator X27 is if you really want a top-end HDR monitor right now and you have a ton of money to burn. Honestly, those $350 1440p 165Hz monitors I recommended earlier are much better value. There's also the risk that the Predator X27 will be superseded with a better, more affordable version shortly, so you run into the typical concerns of an early adopter with this product. But right now, it is the best HDR gaming monitor. It's just not something I think is worth it for everyone. So that basically sums up my current monitor recommendations. The options at 1080p and 1440p are particularly great buys at the moment, I reckon, and it's nice to see prices coming down across many categories. One thing you might be asking at this point is why we haven't recommended many G-Sync monitors. What if I'm an NVIDIA GPU owner and I want to get adaptive sync? And that's a fair question considering NVIDIA GPUs are by far the most popular, and most recommendations here were for FreeSync models. However, my opinion is that for most buyers, spending an extra $200 or more for G-Sync just isn't worth it. Take our 27-inch 1440p 144Hz monitor recommendation, the Samsung JG50 at $300. For a G-Sync equivalent, you're looking at the Acer Predator XB271HU as the cheapest, but not only is this monitor $500, so $200 more than the JG50 or 66% more expensive, it's also a TN display, not VA, so image quality will be worse. The AOC AG271QG gets you an IPS panel for $550, but then we're looking at a price that's more than 80% higher. Is it worth spending 80% more just to get adaptive sync? Absolutely not. It's a nice feature to have, but that kind of price hike is just insane, especially when the difference between adaptive sync on and off isn't that significant at higher frame rates. It does make a difference in the 40 to 70 FPS range, but with these high refresh monitors, if you're gaming above 70 FPS, the difference is negligible, and at no stage is the improvement worth such a massive price increase. So that's it for this video. You can find links to current prices for the monitors we've recommended in the description below. Consider subscribing for more monitor content as we have a few reviews coming up to close out 2019, at least hopefully. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon to get access to our monthly live streams and exclusive Discord chat among a number of other perks. And I'll catch you in the next one.